topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Who is January Jones? She is not a young, beautiful, talented actress on Mad Men. She is not an older, gorgeous, exotic dancer from the Johnny Carson Show. She is an author, and she wrote Thou Shalt Not Whine, the 11th Commandment, that reached #1 at Amazon.com. She is a reality TV golf personality with World High Stakes Golf televised on HDNet. She is a humorist and winologist expert. She is your featured host today on January Jones Sharing Success Stories. So sit back, relax, and get ready to laugh and listen to Ms. Jones with her eclectic roster of guests as you learn life's lessons. These stories plus sharing equals success. Welcome, and remember, beware, because you are entering the no whining world of January Jones.
Greetings, everyone. I hope you're having a fabulous day. I'm January Jones, and I'd like to welcome you to our podcast today. As you know, my new brand is the Glitter Granny, as you can see. We all wear many hats as we go through life every day. So today I'm wearing my black interview hat. The nice thing about hats is you don't really have to fuss too much with your hair. Now to my dear listeners, let me ask you a question. Have you ever thought about being more successful? I'm sure you have. We all have. Have you ever wanted to get some help with your life goals? Would you like to meet someone who has walked the walk and talked the talk, creating an affirmation success formula? He is the father of affirmations. Now, I didn't say affirmations, I said AFFORMATIONS. Tell me, do you ever wish you could make your dreams come true? Would you like to meet someone who will share his own experiences, helping people to achieve their own wealth and happiness? Let me ask you, have you ever heard about a book called The 7-Figure Life? How to Leverage the 4 Focus Factors for More Wealth and Happiness? It's a book that I've just read, and I'm sure thrilled to be able to talk to you about it. If you can answer yes or maybe to any of my questions, then you are in the right place. And I'd like to welcome you to January Jones Success Stories. So now relax, go get some wine, get some cheese, get some crackers, and join me in the no wine zone. Now let me tell you a little bit about my guest today. As I said, he is the father of affirmations and the mental health coach to the stars. He's been working with Hollywood celebrities, CEOs, professional athletes, executives, elite entrepreneurs. He is famous for helping his coaching clients make more in 12 weeks than they did in the previous 12 months. Yes, you heard me right. His book, The 7-Figure Life, How to Leverage the 4 Focus Factors for More Wealth and Happiness, he reveals the 4 focus factors that are critically important. It's my pleasure today to welcome to our show Dr. Noah St. John.
Hello, great to be here. Thank you, January.
Wonderful to have you with us, Dr. Noah. Been looking forward to having you. And as I told you before we went on the air, I had a chance to read your book, and I was really impressed with it, enjoyed it very much. But before we talk about your wonderful books, I think you've written 9, so that's quite a bit to talk about.
22, actually. 22.
Well, what do I know? Tell us a little bit, since we're all kind of coming out of this pandemic pause, I like to call it the big pause.
Yep.
How did the pandemic affect you? How did it affect your career? How did it affect your personal life?
Well, there's an old saying that I'm sure most people are familiar with. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. It was written over, a century and a half ago by Charles Dickens, who ironically, he and I have the same birthday, February 7th. So that is what the pandemic has done for millions and millions of people, not just in the United States, but of course, all around the world. These
Mhm.
last few years have been very, very tough, very, very challenging times. However, for other people, these last few years have been the best of times. And that's what it has been for me and for my clients, the people that I get to help to achieve their goals faster, whether it's one-on-one coaching or group coaching.
Mhm.
And the main reason for that is because one of the things that I've been teaching for over 25 years is how to empower yourself so that you have these four focus factors that I do talk about, in the new book that you mentioned, The 7-Figure Life. So I was very well positioned for when the pandemic happened, and so were my clients. So for the people that I'm helping and coaching and mentoring, these last few years have been, in fact, the best of times. In fact, I actually, at the height of the pandemic in November of 2020, I found this house that I'm in right now, which is a 6,000 square foot mansion on a hill.
Oh,
And so I was able to purchase that home in February of 2021. So we've been here these last 2 years, and it's been really amazing. What's interesting about that is that I started my company, successclinic.com, 25 years ago in a 300 square foot basement apartment with $800 to my name and a book on HTML. So since those very humble beginnings, we've helped a lot of people. I mean, over 10,000 entrepreneurs all around the world to really add over $2 billion. That means over 6, 7, and 8 figures that I've helped my clients to add. Just, we call it found money, because a lot of people, whether in their careers, their jobs, or their businesses, are just sitting on a gold mine, but because no one has actually shown them how to mine that gold,
mhm.
digging away with a teaspoon. So I like to give people the backhoes so they can mine the gold and then really enjoy the fruits of their labors.
And it was interesting reading your book, you shared how you started out. And I mean, let's face it, there's nothing like, there's no such thing as overnight success. And you are actually living proof of that, aren't you?
Oh yeah, yes. It took me way too long to get where I wanted to go, and the main reason for that is because I paid a lot of those gurus out there, the guys that are really great at self-promotion and self-marketing, but who can't teach their way out of a paper bag. So I
Okay.
paid them over $500,000 only to find out they suck at teaching. And so it took way too long, because the people that are out there that are taking up all the air are great self-promoters, but they suck at teaching. And so it took me way too long, an insane amount of years to piece all of these pieces together. When if I would have had the help that I actually needed back then, I would have been a lot further along, a lot faster. So, that's what I'm able to pass along now to my clients, whether one-on-one or group coaching
Sure.
clients, is able to get them, frankly, they're a lot faster than I was able to get, because not only didn't I had help, I had anti-help, meaning they gave me a lot of bad advice that literally cost me, at least 10 years and over $500,000.
Okay, and I'm so sure many people that are listening to us today can share that experience with
Yes.
you. I've had a lot of people on the show talk about affirmations
Yes.
all the time. Now, yours is affirmation. So let's briefly share with our listeners the difference.
Yes, absolutely. So for the folks listening and watching the program, this is what I invented. So this is one of my books. It's from published by Hay House. So it's the book of AFFORMATIONS. So as you can see, it's spelled AFFORMATIONS. So no, we didn't spell it wrong. It's a new word that I invented 25 years ago.
Okay.
So everybody who's ever read a self-help book knows that an affirmation, right, the old way that we've been taught, is
Mhm.
a statement of something you want to be true. right? So I'm as a coach, as a mentor, I'm also a keynote speaker. So one of the things that I like to do in my keynote speeches, whether for teams or organizations or companies around the country and around the world, one of the things I like to do is I say, all right, everybody, we're going to stand up and say an affirmation, just like they taught us. And everybody say, I am rich. And everybody goes, I am rich. And you know what happens next? Everyone starts laughing.
Yeah.
And I go, and I say to them, I say, well, what are you laughing at? And they go, well, I'm not rich. And I say, but you just said that you were. They go, yeah, but I don't believe it. Now, isn't that the problem with the old way, right? With the way that we were taught for 150 years, which is to say these positive statements. I'm happy, I'm healthy, I'm rich, I'm successful. And your brain goes, no, you're not, right? And we just don't believe it. So what I invented 25 years ago is this process called AFFORMATIONS, AFFORMATIONS. And you go to AFFORMATIONS.com and learn more about that. But an affirmation is, as I discovered, is an empowering question. So what we're doing with my affirmations method is we are engaging the embedded presupposition factor of the brain, which very simply means that when you ask a question, your brain automatically searches for the answer. So I discovered this 25 years ago, and in my books and my coaching programs, I call it the shower that changed everything, because I was in the shower.
Tell the story. It's a cute story.
Thank you. So I was a broke college student at the time, and I'd been reading all these self-help books for many, many years. I grew up poor in a rich neighborhood. And so, from a very young age, I was exposed to the chasm, the gap between the haves and the have-nots. The haves was everyone else, and the have-nots was my family. And so I hated being poor. And so I went to the library, read all these books on self-help, and they all said the same thing, say these statements, say them in the positive, everything we've all heard a million times, right? So I did it because, hey, that's all we were told, right? So I did it. I wrote it on the on the Post-it notes. I wrote it down. I'm happy, I'm rich, I'm successful. And the reality was, no, I'm not. I'm broke, unhappy, and miserable. Right? And so I was like, this sucks, man. Why doesn't this work? And so it was April 24th, 1997, over 25 years ago now. Yeah. And I was in the shower and I'm thinking, what the heck are we doing here? What aren't they telling us? There's got to be something missing, that all these guys are saying the same thing and it just doesn't work. So what is missing? And I realized that the human mind responds automatically to questions, not statements, but questions. For example, if I ask you, why is the sky blue? Why is the sky blue? Now, what instantly just happened in your brain in that moment?
I started thinking about reasons.
Right. You started to search for the answer. Yeah. So just like if you're on Google and you type in a query, you're asking a question. If you're on your computer and you're searching for a file, you're asking a question. So your brain is just like a computer. It's like Google. And so you're searching the file called the sky is blue because, I don't know, but it's searching, right? It's automatically looking. So I said, wait a second. If the human mind is automatically searching for answers to questions, why are we going around making statements that we don't believe? Why don't we just cut out the middleman? Right. And I said, well, what would that look like? Well, you got the statement or affirmation, right? The old way. Yeah. I am rich. And your brain goes, yeah, right. Right. In fact, in my books and my training programs, I call it the yeah, right response, because your brain literally goes, yeah, right. Right. So then I said, if that's the statement, then what would the question be? And that's when I said, why am I so rich? Why am I so rich? Now, when you ask that question, what instantly happens in your brain? Mm-hmm. You start to search for the answer, right?
Right.
And so what I'm teaching in my coaching programs, in my online courses, and in my keynote speeches is the law of sowing and reaping. As you sow, so shall you reap. Now, this is an ancient law. It's been taught for centuries. Right. And yet, what are we sowing? We're sowing seeds of thought. And yet, do you know what most people are doing? Sowing lousy thought seeds. Why am I so stupid? Why am I so fat? Why can't I lose weight? Why isn't my business growing? Why is there more month left at the end of the money? And when you ask lousy questions, what do you get? You get lousy answers, right? And that creates a lousy life. So I said, wait a second. What if instead of asking lousy questions that lead to lousy answers, create a lousy life, what if we just flip the whole thing on its head, start asking empowering questions that lead to phenomenal answers and create a wonderful life? And as I was standing there in the shower, April 1997, over 25 years ago, I said, holy cow, I think I just invented something. And so I had to give it a name, and that's the name I gave it, AFFORMATIONS. Again, you can go to AFFORMATIONS.com, just like it sounds, AFFORMATIONS. MNTONS, Affirmations, and learn more about my Affirmations. So in the intervening time, we've helped well over 1 million people all around the world to make more money, to lose weight, to find love, to save marriages. We've saved lives, all using my Affirmations method.
Right now, I'm going to ask a question for our listeners. Are you a whiner, or do you know someone who is a whiner? If so, this is the book for you.
Lately, there's a whining epidemic in our world. People are even whining about whining. Are you sick and tired of listening to everyone whining all the time? So was January Jones, the author of Thou Shalt Not Whine, the 11th commandment that reached #1 at Amazon.com. Ms. Jones based her book on a survey of the top 10 things that people whine about at all ages and all stages of life. January is a success coach that can tell you how to help others. When you buy Thou Shalt Not Whine, the 11th commandment, you'll find out what people whine about and how to stop them from whining. This is the perfect gift book to give or get for any occasion. Thou Shalt Not Whine was voted the best gift to be given anonymously for those special people in your life. Ms. Jones is an internationally known author in the style of Irma Bombeck, specializing in housewife humor, with her book being published in Korea and China. You can find Thou Shalt Not Whine at Amazon.com.
Welcome back to the No Wine Zone with Dr. Noah St. John. And he is definitely not a whiner, because he got in the shower one day and became a winner. Also, by the way, for your information, Thou Shalt Not Whine is just now available at audible.com, so you can listen to it when you're driving. Dr. Noah, would you share with our listeners your contact information and how they can get your books?
Oh boy, yeah. So, well, my main website is noahstjohn.com. That's my name. So just like it sounds, NOAHSTJOHN, noahstjohn.com. We also have a program called the 12-Week Breakthrough, where, as you mentioned a moment ago, I do help my clients make more in just 12 weeks than they did in the previous 12 months. That's at breakthroughwithnoah.com. Easy to remember, right? Breakthroughwithnoah.com. And then to get this book, The 7-Figure Life, you can actually go to 7figurelifebook.com. The number 7, just like it sounds, 7figurelifebook.com. And of course, affirmations.com. You want to definitely check that out.
Got it. And as I said earlier, I really enjoyed reading your book. You write about head trash. Mm-hmm. And this is the thing, the negative things that people go, through their life, yep. Why am I fat? And what you're saying is they should say, instead of saying I'm fat, they should say, why am I fat? Is that what you're saying?
No. That's a disempowering question, what you just described. So here's what I want everyone listening to this program to realize. Uh-huh. Every human being on this planet is already using my Affirmations method. Now, that sounds like, a very controversial thing to say, but let me explain. Every human being is already using the embedded presupposition factor, meaning every day throughout your day, mm-hmm. every person listening to this program is asking questions. The problem is twofold. Number one, most people are not aware that they're doing this. Okay. And number two, most people are doing and using unconsciously and unknowingly, they're asking very disempowering questions. For example, why am I so stupid? Well, guess what? If you're asking that question, now whether you're conscious of it or not, you're going to find ways that you're stupid. Now you're not stupid, but you're asking it, why am I? Okay. Another disempowering question is, why can't I do anything right? And guess what? You make mistakes in your life. You see, I told you I couldn't do anything right. You're always going to make yourself right. So one of the reasons that my Affirmations method is so incredibly effective and frankly life-changing mm-hmm. is because you're going to, number one, start to identify these disempowering questions that you're asking. And then number two, you're going to learn how to change them to empowering questions. Let me give you an example from one of my coaching clients. So I was working with a client in my 12-week breakthrough program named Tamisa. She's a very vivacious, great personality, as a business owner in Arizona. And so she is a self-proclaimed, self-described seminar junkie, right? So she was going to all these seminars. I'm sure a lot of people can identify with that. They've gone to all the gurus and, spending all this time, money, and effort on all these seminars and different self-help, or as I like to call it, shelf-help programs. And she kept hitting what I call an income ceiling, right? No matter what she did, she just kept hitting that income ceiling and was not able to break through even after spending all this time and money. So a friend referred her to me, and she decided to join my 12-week breakthrough program, where I work with you for 12 weeks to help you make more in 12 weeks, and it didn't last 12 months. Now, she was very skeptical. She was like, it's probably going to be the same thing I've heard a million times, but it really wasn't. Now, how do we know this? Well, in the first 2 weeks of working with me in my coaching program, she tripled her investment in 2 weeks, just 2 weeks, as a result of what I taught her. And what's incredible about that, we hadn't even gotten to the money part yet. We were just talking about taking out her head trash, as I call it. The head trash that is the voice in your head that says, I can't do it, or why can't I do anything right, or whatever your specific head trash is. So I showed her how to identify that head trash and then reverse it using my AFFORMATIONS method. In 2 weeks, she tripled her investment. By the way, she also went on, because she was able to overcome her fears, right, of her, her self-confidence and things like that. And she actually entered her first bikini contest, and she came in 3rd place. Now get this, she's 68 years old.
Oh my gosh.
First bikini contest at age 68. You know, so she's in amazing shape. She's but she never was able to overcome that fear. So something totally out of her comfort zone. Anyway, it totally changed her life.
Oh, that's adorable. I love that story.
Yeah.
Questions about the coaching program. 12 weeks. Is it one-on-one? Is it a class? How does it work? Give us the ground rules.
Absolutely. And you can learn more about this. I have an 11-minute video at breakthroughwithnoah.com. So you can all go check that out. But basically, it was 12 weeks in 2 phases. The first phase, the first 6 weeks, we focus on what I call inner game. Now, inner game is everything that happens between your ears that you can't see directly, but it is affecting everything that you do. So in my coaching programs, for example, I like to say to my clients, what's one area of your life where your beliefs don't affect you? And people say, well, and I go, exactly. There's no place your beliefs don't affect you, right? Your beliefs affect your health, your wealth, your well-being, your stress level. They affect your relationships, your business, your career. I mean, there's no place your beliefs don't affect you. But here's the thing. You can't see a belief. You can only see the effects of a belief. So you may be holding yourself back by virtue of this head trash that I've been helping people take out for over 25 years, but you don't even know it. All right. Because it's invisible to you. So that's why we spend the first 6 weeks only on inner game. Now, just from that, I mean, people have doubled, tripled, quadrupled their income, literally, just with the inner game. But then we go further. We go to phase 2, which is the outer game. Now, outer game is everything that you can see. It's right in front of your face. So let's say you're in business. Maybe you're a business owner. Well, that's all the systems and strategies and, all the customer service and offers, funnels, and traffic that you have to do to make money. But you know what's incredible is that 95%, I told you earlier that I've helped my clients make over $2 billion since 1997. 95% of that money came as a result of mastering their inner game. What I taught them about their inner game, not all this marketing stuff. Not that I'm saying it's wrong or anything. I'm saying that it was 100% result of inner game that caused what we like to call hockey stick growth, meaning they're going along like this and then whoop, they just go right through the roof.
Oh my gosh, that's so exciting.
Yes.
We're going to take a break now, and it's been 60 years since the assassination of John Kennedy. And it's an interesting topic, and people are still talking about who killed Kennedy.
Let me ask you a question. Are you still wondering who killed Kennedy? Over 50 years later, the assassination is still a mystery. It is unfinished business for our country. Now, get ready for a theory that you've never heard before, but will make more sense than any other conspiracy theory that you've ever heard in the past. January Jones speaks the unspeakable in her book, Jackie, Ari, and Jack, The Tragic Love Triangle, connecting Jackie and Aristotle Onassis romantically prior to JFK's assassination. Did you know that Ari was Jackie's guest in the White House during the JFK funeral? He was the only non-family member who was invited by Jackie to stay there during the funeral. Aristotle Onassis was one of the wealthiest men in the world, with the means, the motive, and the money to order an assassination that was the perfect crime of the last century. Ari needed class, and Jackie needed cash. They were perfect for each other. Now, what is Camelot? It is but another tragic love triangle. Jackie, Ari, and Jack is available at JanuaryJones.com, Amazon.com, and audiobooks.com, read by Ms. Jones.
Welcome back with Noah St. John. Okay, Dr. Noah, we were talking about the inner game, the outer game. Also, I still wanted to ask that question about the 12-week program. Is it one-on-one, or do people attend classes, or how do they, what's the format?
Yes, it's a small select group of mostly entrepreneurs or people who want to start their own business. So I've helped people scale from 6 figures to 7 figures to 8 figures, and also people just starting out, getting them to 6 and even 7 figures very quickly. So it's a small group, but you do get a lot of one-on-one time with me because it is such a small group. I'm sure we've all been part of these, big masterminds and stuff with 100, 200 people, and you just get lost, number one. And number two, you can't ever, get your questions answered. You're like, well, what about this? Or what about that? Or what about my specific situation? Just as a quick example, I had one woman who joined recently the 12-week breakthrough, and she was at the same level of income. She was a business owner for 15 years. She had not grown. I call it that income ceiling I was talking about. She just kept hitting the ceiling, and she was working really, really hard. In fact, you've heard the phrase working yourself to death. She was actually doing that. She was working herself to death. She was in a wheelchair. She put herself there because she was working 14, 16, 18 hours a day. She never stopped. But her business wasn't growing no matter how hard she worked. So she joined the program. I was able to teach her my inner game and outer game methods. In less than 1 year, her business doubled after no growth for 15 years. And she was able to take more time off than ever before, spend more time with her family. So we love to say that it's not just the money, but more importantly, it's about winning your life back.
Yeah, and getting her out of that wheelchair. Do you do it with the Zoom? Is that how?
Yeah, it's on Zoom just like we are right now. And so, as I mentioned, it's a group. So every week I give you an assignment based on whether you are working on your inner game or whether we're helping you with your outer game. So I've created all the modules. They're there in your members area. And then, you send me your assignment and I review them. For example, we have one woman now, she's in South Africa and she's just getting her business started. She's a working mom. She's got a family there in South Africa, and, she's in 1 week from literally starting from scratch. She got her website up in 1 week. Wow. I was like, wow, now that's called being an action taker, right? So that's what the people that we love to work with is action takers. But, that's just one example of how fast it can be, just 1 week from literally starting from scratch.
Okay. So it's basically a can-do proposition, and you kind of unlock the door and let people do different things.
The thing about it is, the thing about success, you mentioned that in your opening, everybody wants to be more successful, right? And so, but lots of people have been trained or taught that hard work equals success. Now, I'm certainly not saying that there's anything wrong with hard work. But my point is that if you don't have the right inner game and outer game systems and strategies in place, you can work as hard as you want. It's not going to make any difference. Like that client I just told you about, Aubrey. I mean, it's 15 years, no growth, and working herself to death. So see, that's not the point. And so I'm very much against those. I call them the hustle and grinders, right? We all hear those guys hustle and grind, and you got to work 14, 16, 18 hours a day. Now, listen, when I was in my 30s, I was just starting out, and I worked 14, 16, 18 hours a day to get my business started because, sometimes you have to do that. But that's not a life, right? I mean, now that I'm older, I've got a family and responsibilities and things like that. You want to make more money, but have more life. That's why we call it the 7-figure life, for that exact reason, because we want you to have more time, more energy, happier relationships, and more money. And it really is possible. It's not, people say, oh, that's too good to be true. Well, we've got a lot of stories that prove it's very true.
Yes, you do. And I loved the part in your book where you discuss success. And it really prompts the reader, even at my age, I was interested with this situation. What does success really mean to you? And of course, at different ages, it's going to mean different
Right.
things. But then when you point out the long run, put the whole thing together, and it's really important for people to know what they want. A lot of people just think success, success, but they don't
Right.
knock it down to what it really means
Right.
to their life and especially to their family and friends. It's
Yes.
I can see why your inner game is the most important part of your program.
It really is. I'll give you a quick example of that. I was working with one of my clients, and this was a one-on-one client. So we do have one-on-one as well as the group coaching. And
Mhm.
his name's Charles. And I said, Charles, how much do you think it's going to cost you if we don't put these systems in place for you? Meaning, how much do you think you're going to lose out on this year? Without batting an eye, he said, I'm going to lose $1 million. If we don't fix this, I know I'm going to lose $1 million this year. Meaning lose out on, not lose a million, but lose out on the opportunity to make an extra $1 million, right? And so I said, first of all, that's very common. I hear this all the time that this is costing you $10,000, $50,000, $100,000 a month. That's 6, 7 figures a year, right? That's very common. But the
Mhm.
second thing is, I said, why don't we do this? Just give me 10% of that $1 million, and I will find you that $1 million in the next 12 months. In other words, if you give me $1 and I give you $10 back, is that a good deal? He goes, oh, yeah, that's a really good deal. I said,
Mhm.
okay. That's why I love working with high achievers, right? Because they make decisions quickly and firmly. So he literally paid me $100K. Now that's 10% of $1 million, right? So he paid me $100,000. Well, I didn't find him. I coached him one-on-one, and I didn't find him $1 million in the next 12 months. I found him $1.8 million in 10 months. So talk about hockey stick, right? I mean, what? And then he also, what was my favorite part about this story is that he sent me an email. I said, guess where I am, Noah? I'm on a 7-week vacation with my wife. We just bought a new RV and we're touring the Southeast. And he said, it's all thanks to what I learned from you about inner game and outer game. So not only am I making more money than ever, I also have more time than I ever had before. Now that to me is success.
Yeah, yeah. And then you also said you had another book where you share some of these success stories too.
Yes, absolutely. So it's called The 7-Figure Expert. So
Okay.
it's really awesome is these are companion books, right? So we have the 7-Figure Life, which
Yeah.
we mentioned at 7figurelifebook.com. And then we have the 7-Figure Expert. Now this is at 7figureexpertbook.com. Also very easy to remember. What's great though is that this book is free. So I've covered the cost of the book because you're watching this program now. Just go to 7figureexpertbook.com and I will give you the book for free. We just ask you to cover the shipping. But what's nice is while you're waiting for this book to be delivered to your doorstep, I will give you the digital edition for free right away, instantly. So while you're waiting to get because I know I'm old fashioned. I like to read books and, have
Yeah.
them in my hand. You can see all the different pictures and illustrations we use.
Yeah.
So while you're waiting for that to be delivered, then you can immediately read the digital version. So that's right there, 7figureexpertbook.com.
Well, I am going to sign up for that myself because I enjoyed reading your other books so
Thank
much. But I also have an idea for all the grannies out there like me. I'm going to make sure that my 5 grandchildren, who are all graduating from college, getting out in the world, starting careers, several of them have internships, whatnot. I'm going to get this book for them
you.
because I think what a great gift to give them as part of their graduation gift.
Yes.
Yeah.
I totally agree. And thank you. I'm honored.
Let's put it this way. You're never too young.
No kidding. I always say if I would have had any help, I would be, a multi-billionaire by now. But all I got was I paid a lot of money to those guys, all those clowns out there, and I got anti-help. So my job, my mission now, because as you mentioned, it's very common, unfortunately, sadly, in the coaching industry,
Oh, yeah.
it's very common to get a lot of, as I call it, anti-help, meaning a lot of really bad advice. That's what's out there, sadly. So my mission now is to really, I'm kind of like the internet marketing cleanup crew at this point. I got to clean up the mess from all those guys.
Yeah.
And so, with some of the stories that I shared with you, that people are, unfortunately, they paid a lot of money, gone all the seminars, but really not gotten the advice or the help, really, the support, the guidance that they really needed. So that's a big part of what I do. And that makes me so happy to see my my clients when they add 6, 7, 8 figures and get that hockey stick growth. It's a great feeling.
Oh yeah, and I'm at that stage of life where you're never too old for coaching, but if you're young, it's so important to get coaching and to ask for help, because no one wants to see you go out there and reinvent the wheel.
Right.
Because you don't need to. We have someone here who's been doing it for 25 years.
Exactly. You got it.
Right now, I want to share some priceless personalities with you. These are all people who have been guests on the show. Have you ever met someone who was unforgettable? Someone who has touched your heart and soul? People who have faced difficult problems? People who have struggled to find solutions? People who fearlessly shared their stories? People who have not only informed you, but inspired you? People who have priceless personalities. I have been fortunate to host an internet radio talk show called January Jones Sharing Success Stories, and it has been my privilege to interview hundreds of guests. My guests have shared their stories, their struggles, their secrets, and their successes in their own words. In this book, we're talking about people dealing with problems such as incest, molestation, runaway kids, child abuse, drug abuse, polygamy, unemployment, scandal, and starting over. Then there are my guests dealing with difficult physical struggles such as blindness, cancer, and birth defects that are beyond traumatic. My guests have all been exciting, eclectic, and energizing. They have amazed, amused, and even astonished me. I have adored getting to meet them, and I adore sharing them with you.
Attention all listeners. Priceless Personalities, Success Stories Shared by January Jones, Volume 2 is now available at Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle editions. You'll be able to meet 10 amazing people who will be sharing their own personal stories with all their struggles, successes, and solutions, sprinkled with lots of humor and hope. Priceless Personalities features a teenager who becomes one of the famous Supremes from Motown, a nurse who as a humorist helps people to heal, an inspiring laughter yoga instructor, a mother dealing with the loss of a child, an incredible motivational speaker, a woman who married 5 times, a gifted paranormal nurse, a wise economist, a funny female humorist, along with an older man sharing his sweet childhood in the Deep South. January's guests are all amazing and amusing. You will never forget meeting them. Go to Amazon.com for your own priceless experience.
Welcome back with another priceless personality, Dr. Noah St. John. We're running out of time. This has been a fabulous interview. Briefly, Dr. Noah, could you go over the 4 focus factors before we close out our show?
Absolutely. So again, the book, 7-Figure Life, How to Leverage the 4 Focus Factors for More Wealth and Happiness. So as I was writing this book, people, my clients, whether one-on-one or group coaching clients, they literally have been asking me about this for years, which is, Noah, what is a successful life? What does that really mean? And as I was meditating and creating this book, I realized it really comes down to something very fascinating, which is if I gave you $1 million, imagine if I say, I'm going to give you $1 million right now. There's only one catch, and the catch is that you have no time to enjoy it. Does that sound like a good deal? And most people go, well, not really. No, that doesn't sound like a great deal. Okay, I'll tell you what, I'll give you $1 million. You just have to be miserable, sad, and depressed all the time. Sound good? No, that's not very good. How about I'll give you $1 million and you have no one to enjoy it with, and you're lonely all the time. You have no relationship. Sound good? No, none of that sounds any good, right? So that I use that as an example in my keynote speeches to show people that, wait a minute, of course we all want more money, but what good is it if we don't have the time, the energy, and the relationships to make it a really worthwhile life? So that's what the 4 focus factors are: the time, the energy, the relationships, and the money. When you put those 4 focus factors together, that's called a rich life.
Yeah, and that people can relate to that. Of all the people that you've coached, would you share, who might you point out as one of the most amazing, interesting stories that you could share with us?
Yeah, well, I have had the privilege of coaching countless entrepreneurs all around the world for the past 25 years. One of the very interesting stories was I was speaking at a conference in Los Angeles for 6, 7, and 8-figure entrepreneurs, very successful people. As I was finishing speaking, walking off the stage, a man came up to me out of the audience and he said, Noah, you are the coach I've been looking for. I want you to coach me. That's why I love working with high achievers, right? They make decisions quickly and firmly. So I didn't know this man from Adam. Ironically, his name was Adam. And so I said, okay, what's going on? He goes, Noah, my company is stuck at 4 million in revenues, and we've been here for 4 years, and I can't break through that income ceiling. He said, everything you just talked about, everything you just said, I knew you were the coach I've been looking for, because he'd spent all this money on all those other guys and just couldn't break through the ceiling. So I coached him for a year. And in that year, it was actually about 18 months. And in that year, his company went from being stuck at 4 million in revenues for the previous 4 years to over 20 million.
Okay.
Talk about hockey stick growth. So over 600% increase. And what's amazing about that story, what I want everybody to realize, is 95% of what we talked about was inner game. Everything I've been talking about in this interview, right? Inner game mastery, really understanding what is holding you back. What are the messages that you're telling yourself? And then taking out your head trash. That is, in fact, the thing that's keeping you stuck. So what's amazing is when we fix the one problem that's causing all your other problems, then the sky's the limit.
Right. And you know, I'm obsessed with success stories. Tell us both ends of the spectrum. Who was your youngest success story and who was your oldest success
story? Oh, wow. Well, kids love my AFFORMATIONS method. So for all of you listening and watching the program, if you have kids, grandkids, nieces, nephews, they absolutely love my AFFORMATIONS method. So teach them AFFORMATIONS. So like one of my clients in Wisconsin named Mary, and she taught her daughter, Stephanie, who was only 13 at the time, because Stephanie was having trouble sleeping. She was a chronic worrier. She was a great student, but she was worried all the time. And so she couldn't sleep. They had tried everything. They tried hypnosis. They tried, this, that, and the other, and nothing was working. She taught her my AFFORMATIONS method, and literally in one night, she cured her insomnia in one night, just using my AFFORMATIONS method. And then Stephanie went on to, get even better grades, be more self-confident, and she graduated with honors and just has been a wonderful success story. So we have so many stories like that of kids who absolutely love my AFFORMATIONS method. And then I don't know who my oldest success story is, because I get people in their 60s, 70s, 80s who just write to me all the time and say, they love my work and they, read my books. And, like Tamisa, who I was telling you about, who I got to work with, in her 60s, winning bikini contests. Come on, that's amazing. So it's just incredible stories like that.
That's a great story. Tell us a little bit, and you said your childhood was not, you lived in an affluent area, right, but your family was not. And how old were you when you realized that you were, I don't know if poor is the right word.
Well, yeah, I tell you what, I grew up poor in a rich neighborhood. And so, I saw the dichotomy, the chasm between the haves and the have-nots. The haves was everyone else in the community. The have-nots was my family. And so I really, as a kid, wasn't thinking about it too much, except I do remember one Christmas, my older brother, we were visiting a friend's house, and then we came back to our house. And then my older brother said to my parents, how come Santa brought them so many more presents than he brought us? Oh. And of course, he's a kid, he's innocent. So, but of course my parents were devastated. Isn't that awful? And I wasn't even thinking about it at that. And that was, I think, my first, and I was probably about 5 years old. And I was like, yeah, that is weird. Why would Santa do that? So of course my parents worked really hard. That's another example of the fact that you can work really hard and not, be successful. So hard work is, again, I'm not saying don't work hard. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that that's not the thing. That's not the thing that causes success. It's putting these inner game and outer game systems in place. That's what we've seen to add 6, 7, and 8 figures. So yeah, it wasn't a happy childhood. My parents worked really hard. They tried to make a good life for us and just keep food on the table. So, but there's just nothing good about poverty. That I can say from experience. A lot of people say, well, you can be rich and other things of money. I'm like, yeah, that's true. But I'd sure rather have money as well as all those other things.
Oh, yeah. And it's interesting that even at a young age, you're asking yourself questions.
Right. That's right.
Yeah. And your brother's asking questions, making you think, and you were exploring your inner game without even probably realizing.
That's right. Definitely.
When you look back, do you have any regrets?
Oh
What was
yeah, I have a lot of regrets. I have many regrets, and I have a spreadsheet of them all because I wish I hadn't paid that guy and that guy and that guy and that guy. I wish I hadn't paid them all that money because they sucked. And so yeah, I mean they not only took my money, but
yeah.
more really devastating, they took my confidence. Because they made it seem like it was my fault.
Okay.
And I'm like, you didn't say anything. I gave you all that money, and you never said anything. So, no, it wasn't my fault. And again, my point of saying that for everybody listening to the program, watching is, it's not your fault. These guys out there, they really are bad at teaching. They suck at coaching. They're terrible, but they're great self-promoters. So one of the things that we talk about all the time in my company at successclinic.com, that's the name of my company, is we talk about the difference between personality-driven success and system-driven success. Personality-driven success is just what it sounds like. It's like you got to have this big personality, and well, that's great. What if I don't have that personality?
Yeah.
And what we find is that those gurus tend to have a certain, outgoing, extroverted, whatever personality.
Yeah.
But most people actually don't have that. So, I had to develop my system for myself first, after going and paying all those guys and realizing there's no there. And I was like, hello, that would have been nice to have something after I paid you all that money, So anyway, that's why my mission is to clean up after these guys and really help people live a better life.
And they not only took your money, they took your time. And as we get older, you can't put a price on time.
That's exactly right. Yes, 10 years in my case, 10 years wasted, that I, of course, would love to have back, but you can't get it back. So you just got to keep moving forward.
Okay, this is a question I always ask before we end the show. If you could have dinner with any person, living or beyond, besides me, who would you invite to dinner?
I would love to invite Abraham Lincoln and Charles Dickens. I cheated. I took two. But Abraham Lincoln, of course, for obvious reasons, the greatest leader in history, and Dickens because we share the same birthday, and he was really the first author to understand, how to make money as an author, as a writer. And, I've always loved writing, having written 22 books now. I've actually got, believe it or not, I got 2 more books coming out later this year. So it's been a very prolific time for me, which is great. But, just to get to meet him and his mind and all those things, those are two people I would certainly love to have dinner with sometime.
I know Mark Twain was self-published. Was Dickens self-published too?
He did both, which is what I've done also. He did self-publishing and traditional publishing, which I have also done as well. So yeah, Mark Twain, he'd be great too.
That's the only way to make money if you're a writer.
Indeed. Yes. Yeah, we actually do. We have a book done for you program too. We help people get their books done too, because you're right, it's a tough business. So we have that service as well, where we help people get their books done.
I speak from experience. My dear listeners, we hope you've enjoyed our time together. It's been so much fun for me to finally meet Dr. Noah after reading his book. We've tried to be informative and inspiring. My upcoming guests will all be eclectic, exciting, and energizing, just like Dr. Noah was today. Next Tuesday, my dear friend, Dr. Karen Gale Lewis will be here. She wrote a book on sibling rivalry, which most of us know about at some point. Now, my 80-year-old thought for the day. As a kid, I used to watch The Wizard of Oz, and I would wonder how someone could possibly talk if they didn't have a brain. Then I signed up for Twitter, and now I know for sure. So there you go. Signing off from the Glitter Granny. Thank you for entering the No Whine Zone with us. Please share our stories with everyone you know. And remember, stop whining and then start smiling. And if that doesn't work, then you can just start eating chocolate. Lots and lots of chocolate. Thank you, Dr. Noah. Do come back again. I've loved having you with us. And to my listeners, take care, stay safe until we meet again next Tuesday.
We want to thank you for listening to January Jones Sharing Success Stories. Always remember Ms. Jones' personal mantra, if you can think it, you can do it. That's what all of our guests have done with their lives, and so can you. You are the ultimate success coach in your own life. All you need to do will be to start sharing your own story with your family and friends. We hope that our guest stories will encourage you to explore an equation in your future that will combine your creativity plus connecting with others will enable you to be successful too. Always remember, your passion plus your purpose will equal prosperity as you explore the wonderful world of January Jones.